The NASCAR Papyrus Racing Series rolls into Bowmanville, Ontario for the Mosport 150K. John Masella, the 191, leads them down to the start, and into turn number 1, he's going to clear Dale Clow on his outside for the lead. Heading down into turn number 2, he tries to pull a gap as Clow tries to come back at him, but he runs wide off the course and into the tire wall. Your pole sitter Masella goes out of the race on the second turn of the first lap by driving off the corner. This is going to hand the lead to Dale Clow. Rick Pantano inherits second place, but coming into the hairpin, he's going to run the corner a little bit wide. He's going to keep it on the track, but he's going to give up the second spot to Brian Simpson. He takes advantage of Pantano's error. It is very costly to get a poor run off the hairpin as you can see, it's followed by the longest straightaway on the racetrack. Pantano would then come under attack from Richard Young in the 119, Chris Gibson right behind. Just in case either of these drivers slips up, Pantano goes off the course again and makes contact with Gibson as he comes back on the track, and he's going to lose another position as he falls back to 4th. John Beatty right behind him now, the 121 car. Towards the midfield, we had Jack Salino drive off the corner wide. The final turn, he hits the tire walls, and another car around, that's Joey Haley and Frank Antipus in front of them. I'm not entirely familiar with all these names, so forgive me for any mispronunciations I may be making. Heavy damage to the 123 car and the 168. We're on board 123 of Antipus right now. There's Saliner going off the course, and Joey Haley, I don't know if he was reacting to the 168 or if he just made a mistake, but he didn't have any help. He just spun out on his own, and Antipus had nowhere to go. Lap 2, Dale Clow now runs off the hairpin, and as you can see, that has really killed any momentum that he was going to get for the straightaway, as Brian Simpson again takes advantage of this and now goes for the lead. Down the back straightaway, he has only been able to pull up alongside him, and coming into the final set of S's, no real preferred line here, although it is easy to run off in the final corner. It's really easy to run off in any corner at this racetrack. A very winding and flowing circuit this Mosport International Raceway is. Very fun, but very treacherous as well, as we have already seen several cars go off the course. And Simpson continues to hold the preferred line into turn 1, and he will clear the 117 for the lead as they head down into turn number 2. The battle for second now heats up a couple laps later when Chris Gibson tries to take second place from Clow, and he does so rather easily in turn 1. Inside line being the preferred line in that corner. Richard Young trying to follow Gibson into third place past the 117, but the left side is preferred in turn 2, and he runs off the track just a little bit. John Beatty right behind this. He's closed in as these drivers continue to battle, and Simpson has not really pulled a gap yet. Back in the midfield, we have Fred Jones and Greg Hill battling with each other. Jones had a very poor qualifying run and is not making his way towards the front very fast. Contact between Hoang Min and Greg Hill. They both go off the road and into the tires. We're going to go on board the 148 here, see what happened. It looks like he just pushes up a little too far off the corner, and the 188 was there. Not sure how much time he had to lay off of him, but regardless of the fact, they are both going to go out of the race. As you can see from the aerial shot, the 148 just runs a little too wide and takes them both off the wall and into the wall and out of the race, excuse me. Further up the track, Steve Myers runs off the final corner and pulls into David Goward while trying to get back on track. Fortunately, he stays off the wall, unlike Jack Salino on the first lap. And we had even more trouble further ahead of this, as Steve Vandergriff does the same thing that John Masella did on lap 1. He takes the entry of turn 2 just a little too wide, and as you can see, that error has taken him into the tire walls and out of the race. Here we are on lap 10 as Simpson continues to lead, and he is beginning to pull a gap on Chris Gibson. No one has been challenging Gibson yet, as Dale Clow and Richard Young have been battling with each other. But Simpson now beginning to pull a gap. You see David Sweet, the 128 car, he's headed into the pits. Same with Rick Pantano, and Pantano goes into the pit wall. You see the 155 car parked down there. He just hit the pit wall. The second to final corner right here, he runs off and into the right side wall and comes back across the pit entrance and hits the end of the wall. I'm not sure if he was initially trying to pit or if he just ran that corner wide, but silly mistake is going to take the 155 car out of the race. Here's why David Sweet was pitting just before that. A half a lap earlier, he ran turn 2 wide. He stayed on course just long enough to miss those tire walls, but still made significant contact with the concrete just past it, and as you just saw earlier, he had to pit to get that repaired. He would not lose a lap in the process. Lap 12, Brian Simpson tries to pit, but he overshoots the pit entrance and doesn't hit the pit wall unlike the 155 car, but he does overshoot the entrance and has to go back around another lap. Fred Jones, his teammate, does the same thing. Not sure what's going on with them. They just ran the pit entry wide, both of the Papyrus Racing cars did, and fortunately they are still in the race. They didn't hit the wall, but they would have to go around another lap. But both of them had the fuel to do so, and Brian Simpson successfully pits the next time around. Fred Jones' bad day is finally going to come to an end, however, as he runs the pit entrance wide again, and like Pantano before him, hits the end of the wall. Very unusual for Fred Jones to be off of his game like this. He's usually one of the top cars, or one of the fastest cars on the track. Today, obviously, that's not the case. He takes himself out with a silly mistake of his own. Onboard Chris Gibson, who of course pitted a lap before Simpson. There is Simpson right ahead. As he just comes out of the pits, he's still ahead of the 105 car, and the 193 and 105 pit crews appear to have had equally good stops, as Simpson is about as far ahead as he was before the before pit stops, excuse me. Eventually, though, Gibson would catch up to Simpson. He would close within a car length of him by the hairpin turn, but then he runs the corner wide, and you can see that's going to give Gibson all of the lead that he previously had back, as Dale Clow now tries to take advantage of Gibson's mistake as he pulls alongside him down the backstretch. Richard Young still behind them, and in the distance back there in 5th place is Jake Balkin, that red car. He's been hanging out just outside the top 5 all day, and well, now he's in the top 5, he's running in 5th, as Clow and Gibson battle through the final set of corners. Gibson runs into the grass just a little bit, giving Clow the position. Richard Young not close enough to take advantage and pass Gibson, but he runs turn 1 wide, and that will give Young the opportunity to pull alongside him. However, he's not going to have the preferred line in turn number 2, as Gibson is going to take 3rd place, or retain 3rd place, I should say. And meanwhile, up ahead, Simpson is pulling away with all the racing that these cars are battling with each other behind them. Onboard Clow, as Gibson again comes after him into the final set of corners. You might have just barely seen Simpson off in the distance. He is pulling away. 117 takes to the grass just a little bit, and a couple laps later, Gibson would finally start to pull away and attempt to chase down Brian Simpson in the closing stages of the race. Richard Young and Clow, however, continue to battle, and as you can see, all this racing has brought Jake Balkin, the 109, right up in the mix. These 3 cars are awfully close together in these final set of corners oftentimes that will result in a crash, so these drivers better be careful, but honestly, this is the more confident end of the field, I think, so these drivers shouldn't have any problems. As Young clears the 117 for 3rd place again, Kevin Iannarelli, the 170 car, in 6th place, trying to take advantage of all this racing ahead as well and close the gap for himself. But meanwhile, Brian Simpson has taken the white flag, and despite the fact that Gibson is gaining on him, you can see that he is nowhere in sight in these camera shots. Simpson has been able to pull out a huge lead, and all he has to do at this point is just stay on the course, and the victory should be his. And that's exactly what he would do. Down the backstretch, there's Gibson, just coming into the shot, but it would be to no avail, as Brian Simpson, coming around the final corner, will take the checkered flag and win the Mosport 150K. A great race by Simpson, took the lead early and never relinquished it, despite some charges from other competitors, and the 193 team will visit victory lane, and deservedly so. Again, Chris Gibson comes home in 2nd place for the 105 car, Gibson's Racing, Richard Young is able to hold off Dale Clough for the 4th position. In fact, Jake Balkin surpassed Clough and took the 4th spot, relegating Clough to 5th. Kevin Iannarelli, the other Papyrus racing car to finish the race, finishes in 6th. Steve Myers in 7th after almost hitting the wall earlier. Jordan Lang moves his way up to 8th. David Goward finishes 9th. And a very quiet run by Peter Inglis. He rounds out the top 10.